I spent weeks planning the perfect proposal for him on his birthday. I rented a rooftop, had a live band, a custom ring with his favorite gem, and invited all his friends. As I got down on one knee and popped the question, he laughed, looked around, and said, "Why would I marry someone like you in front of people who actually matter?" Everyone went silent. My name is Emily Rivera. I'm 28 years old, and until a month ago, I thought I was living a real life fairy. I work as a graphic designer in Austin, Texas, freelancing from coffee shops and cozy corners of my tiny apartment. My world was pretty small: books, art, playlists I never finished, and the man I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. His name was Adam Hartley, 32, marketing director, charismatic, witty, the type of guy who could walk into any room and command attention without even trying. When we met 2 years ago at a mutual friend's Halloween party, he was dressed as a vampire and I was a skeleton with glitter on my face. He called me radiant. I fell in stupidly. Adam had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the world. Every time he smiled at me, I felt lucky, chosen. He was the kind of man people envied, and I, just a girl with a soft heart and a Pinterest board titled Forever, was enchanted by all of it. We moved in together a year ago. I thought it was the beginning of forever. He said he wasn't into traditional stuff, but he didn't mind me dreaming about rings and weddings. He'd kiss my forehead and say things like, "One day maybe," and that maybe became my reason for hope. His birthday was coming up, 33, and I decided it was time to show him how serious I was. I'd propose, not because I was desperate, but because I wanted him to see how much he meant to me. I thought, what better way to do it than in front of his closest friends and family, on a rooftop under the stars, with a custom ring made of black onyx, the gem he once told me he loved because it looked like midnight frozen in time. I spent weeks planning. I contacted a local rooftop venue that had a breathtaking view of the city skyline. I hired a small band that could play his favorite song, "Ain't No Mountain High Enough." I custom designed a ring with a jeweler in town and wrapped it in a little wooden box with "Always You" engraved on top. I even coordinated with his best friend, Nate, who helped me keep the whole thing a surprise. Everyone was in on it, or so I thought. The day of the proposal was perfect. Sky painted in pinks and oranges, laughter bubbling over champagne glasses, and the band playing soft background melody. Adam arrived fashionably late, in a navy suit that made him look like he stepped out of a magazine. He kissed me, complimented my dress, and asked, "What's all this?" I smiled. "You'll see." When the moment came, I stood up, clinked my glass, and asked for everyone's attention. My heart thudded in my chest like it wanted to escape. I walked over to Adam, pulled the little box from my purse, and got down on one knee. His eyes widened. The crowd gasped. The band went quiet. I opened the box. "Adam Hartley," I said, my voice trembling, "I love you. I've loved you every single day since I met you. You are my favorite person in my home. Will you marry me?" What happened next didn't just break me. It crushed every part of me I didn't know could hurt. Adam looked around. His lips curled into a slow smirk, and then he laughed. A deep, sharp, almost mocking laugh that made my stomach twist. "Why would I marry someone like you?" he said, loud enough for everyone to hear, in front of people who actually matter. The world froze. His words hung in the air like smoke. I felt the blood drain from my face. The silence was brutal. Someone dropped a glass. The band stopped completely. Nate's eyes widened. My fingers clutched the ring box like it was the only thing keeping me upright. I stood up, slowly. Every second felt like a minute. My legs were shaking, my mind screaming, trying to make sense of what just happened. Adam was still smiling, like it was a joke, like I was a joke. But that wasn't even the worst part, because 10 minutes later, I found out this wasn't just rejection. It was revenge. I didn't cry. Not right away. I just stood there, staring at him, the ring still in my hand. People were murmuring. Someone tried to laugh it off awkwardly, hoping this was some bizarre inside joke. But Adam didn't flinch. He just turned and grabbed a drink off the bar like nothing had happened. That smug expression never left his face. I walked off the rooftop. I didn't even know where I was going. My heels clicked down the stairs as my thoughts spiraled into chaos. I wanted to scream, vanish, rewind time. My heart was racing so hard I thought I might faint. Nate caught up with me outside. He looked panicked, like he'd seen a ghost. "Emily," he said, "I didn't know he was going to do that." "I swear, he told me he'd say yes." I blinked. "What do you mean he told you?" Nate hesitated. He knew about the proposal. 2 days ago, I slipped up. He asked why I was acting weird, and I told him you had something special planned. I thought he was happy about it. Something cracked inside me, so he knew? And still let me go through with it? Nate nodded, shame all over his face. I walked away from him without another word. I needed air. I needed space. But I couldn't escape the burn of Adam's voice in my head. Why would I marry someone like you? In front of people who actually matter? What the hell did that even mean? The next morning, my phone blew up. Messages, missed calls, social media tags. Someone had posted a video. The moment, me on my knee, him laughing, that awful sentence. It was everywhere. I turned off my phone and pulled my blankets over my head. I didn't leave my apartment for 2 days. On the third day, I forced myself to go to work. My inbox was overflowing, and I figured drowning in deadlines was better than drowning in shame. I kept my head down, headphones in, and tried to pretend my life hadn't just exploded in front of dozens of people and half the internet. But then something strange happened. An email popped up. No subject, no sender name, just one sentence inside. Check the drive in your mailbox. Confused, I went down to the apartment mailroom, and sure enough, sitting in my box was a small, unmarked envelope with a flash drive inside. I stared at it for a long moment. Every part of me screamed, "Don't plug it in." But curiosity. Back upstairs, I opened the files on the drive. There were 3 videos, all recorded on a phone. The first one was taken in a bar. Dim lighting, loud music, and there was Adam leaning over a table, laughing with a woman I didn't recognize. His hand was on her thigh. Then he said something I'll never forget. "She's planning to propose to me on my birthday. Can you believe that? Like she's the man in the relationship or something. Let her make a fool of herself. It'll be fun." The woman laughed. He pulled her in for a kiss. I paused the video, hands. The second video was in a car. Adam again, talking to someone off camera. She's so desperate. It's pathetic. But hey, free gifts, right? I'll let her do the whole rooftop thing, then crush her. I want everyone to see how stupid she is. My stomach twisted so hard I nearly threw up. My ears were ringing. I clicked the third video. This time, it was my living room, my couch, my candles, my space. Adam was standing there, smirking at the same woman from the bar. Once she's out of the way, I'll finally get her apartment too. It's in her name, but I've already started switching the utilities over. She doesn't even know. I slammed my laptop shut. My whole body was shaking. This wasn't just heartbreak. This was cruelty, pre-planned, targeted. A public execution of my dignity. And now I knew. Adam didn't just humiliate, he orchestrated it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark, knees pulled to my chest, staring at the glow of my laptop screen, replaying those videos until every word burned into my memory. My heart wasn't just broken, it was humiliated, betrayed, and now lit on fire. I wanted to cry. But what came instead was something colder, sharper. I didn't want an apology. I wanted justice. I wanted him to feel what I felt, publicly, painfully, permanently. The first thing I did was copy the videos onto a new drive and hide the original. Then I called the only person I could trust who still had access to Adam's life, Nate. At first, he was hesitant to talk, but when I told him I knew everything about the bar, the car, the apartment, he went silent. And he said, "I always knew he was a jerk, but I didn't think he was this calculated." I told him I needed his help. Not to do anything illegal, not to ruin Adam's life in some violent way, but to expose the truth, fully. And Nate agreed. The next day, I sent Adam a message. "I know what you did. I have everything. I suggest you meet me in person. Alone." He replied within minutes. "You're still hung up on that? Come on, grow up." That was all I needed. His arrogance was his weakness. I didn't reply. Instead, I launched a website. Just a plain black background with a single video player and a countdown timer. The truth about Adam Hartley, going live in 48 hours. I sent the link anonymously to everyone. His boss, his coworkers, his mother, his exes, his gym buddies, and most importantly, every person who was at the rooftop that night. Within hours, the link went viral, at least in our local circle. People were texting him, asking questions, panicking. He posted on Instagram like everything was fine, still smiling, still unbothered. But the countdown ticked on. Then, just 24 hours before the video was set to go live, he showed up at my apartment. He didn't knock. He banged. Loud, angry, like a man who'd lost control. I didn't open the door. I watched him through the peephole, pacing like a trapped animal. "Emily," he shouted, "you're blowing this out of proportion. You're being insane." I stayed silent. Let him scream. Let the building hear him unravel. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "You think this is bad? You think you've seen the worst of me?" He paused, smiled toward the door. "You haven't." I recorded it all through the security camera I had installed after the rooftop disaster. The next day, the timer hit 0. The video went live. It opened with the clip from the bar, Adam mocking me, calling me pathetic. Then the car video, the apartment confession. Finally, the audio of him yelling at my door, admitting he knew what he'd done and hinting at work. I didn't add any commentary, no voiceover, no flashy edits, just the raw truth. Within hours, it exploded. People shared it on Twitter, Facebook. Even a few local blogs picked it up with headlines like, "Marketing director caught on camera mocking girlfriend's proposal, plans public humiliation." He tried to fight it, claimed it was taken out of context, said I edited it. But people knew. You can't fake that kind of malice. Then, his job suspended him. Not because they cared about me, but because the attention was bad for business. Clients were asking questions, sponsors were pulling out. HR started an investigation, and suddenly, the confident, untouchable Adam Hartley was unraveling in real time. But that wasn't the final twist, because a few days later, I got another anonymous email. No text, just one file, a photo. And in that photo, Adam and the mystery woman at the bank, opening a joint account. With my name on the paper, he had forged my signature. He had already begun transferring my savings, money I'd worked years to build, into an account he controlled. This wasn't just emotional revenge anymore. It was theft. It was criminal. And now, I had proof. The photo changed everything. I stared at it for what felt like hours, heart pounding, jaw clenched. There it was, Adam and that same woman from the video, smiling in front of a glass counter at the bank, a paper in front of them that unmistakably had my name forged at the bottom. I zoomed in, and there it was in sloppy, almost cartoonish penmanship. Emily Brooks. My name, my money, my trust. I didn't waste a second. I printed the photo, copied the video files, and took everything to the police. The officer at the front desk looked skeptical at first, but once I explained the forged signature and how it tied to the viral videos in the bank account, she took me seriously. I filed a formal report and handed over the evidence. She told me a detective would be assigned within the next 72 hours, but I didn't wait for the law to catch up. I contacted the bank myself. When I mentioned fraud and threatened legal action, the tone shifted instantly. They froze the account for investigation and scheduled an appointment with their internal security team. Meanwhile, Adam had gone quiet. No posts, no messages, his phone straight to voicemail. He was either hiding or planning his next move. Then the biggest twist hit. That same night, there was a knock at my door. But it wasn't Adam. It was the woman from the bar, the one in the videos, the one who kissed him while he called me pathetic. She looked nothing like the flawless girl from the video. Her makeup was smeared, her eyes puffy, and her hands were shaking. "Please," she said before I could even react. "Can I talk to you?" I didn't know. I didn't know what he was doing. I let her in. I don't know why. Maybe because I saw something in her that looked too familiar: fear, shame, confusion. She sat on my couch, clutching a cheap tote bag, and began to unravel a story I didn't see coming. Her name was Melissa. She had met Adam 6 months ago. He told her he was single, said his ex was crazy and wouldn't leave him alone. He promised her everything: vacations, a future, even hinted at marriage. She believed him. She even moved in with him for a few weeks when I thought he was traveling for work. "I thought you were just his needy ex who kept calling," she whispered. "He told me you were obsessed, that you were trying to sabotage him." I wanted to hate her, but I couldn't. Not after what she pulled from her tote bag. A journal. Adam's journal. She had swiped it from his apartment the night before after she saw the video go live and realized everything he said about me was a lie. The pages were filled with messy handwriting, to-do lists, and eerie plans that made my skin crawl. He had mapped out everything. How he would publicly reject me, how it would go viral, how he'd spin the narrative to make himself look like the victim. He even made notes about planting fake evidence of me being unstable to use if things went south. "He's dangerous," Melissa said quietly, "and he's spiraling. I heard him last night talking about like leaving town or worse." That night, I scanned the journal, uploaded photos of the most damning pages, and sent them to the detective assigned to my case. Then I sent one copy to his employer, then another to his landlord. Then, finally, I posted it anonymously online. By morning, it was everywhere. Journal of a Narcissist. How one man planned the perfect public humiliation of his girlfriend. Comment sections exploded. His reputation, already fragile, crumbled to dust. More women started to come forward. Girls he dated, lied to, ghosted, scammed. One even said he convinced her to co-sign on a car he later wrecked and abandoned. But the biggest fallout came later that afternoon. I got a call from the detective. "We found him," she said. "He tried to withdraw the remaining money from the account at a bank across state. When we picked him up, he had fake documents, a burner phone, and a ticket to Costa Rica." I couldn't breathe for a moment. "Emily," she continued, "this isn't just identity theft. This is fraud, harassment, and potentially attempted fleeing from justice. We're filing charges. Just like that, the man who laughed in my face while I knelt with a ring in my hand was sitting in a jail cell. But I wasn't done yet, because there was one thing Adam never saw coming. I had recorded everything, including Melissa's confession, and I had one last surprise in mind. The media frenzy that followed Adam's arrest was unlike anything I'd ever seen. He had always prided himself on being untouchable, charming, respected, adored in his circle. But now, every news headline, every social post, every whisper in the corner of town echoed with his name, and not in the way he liked. But even as he sat behind bars, I knew Adam wasn't the type to go down quietly. He was calculating, manipulative, and worst of all, still convinced he was the smartest person in the room. That's why I had to stay 10 steps ahead. Melissa moved into a friend's place and laid low, but we stayed in contact daily. She helped me piece together a timeline of everything he had done to her, to me, to other women, things even the police hadn't uncovered yet. She gave me access to his old texts, screenshots, and voice memos. And in one of those audio files, buried between his usual string of ego-driven ramblings, was a line that changed everything. She thinks she's the one with the plan? Please. I've been recording her since January. If this ever blows up, I'll leak it all, make her look crazy. Nobody listens to unstable. I froze when I heard it. He'd been recording me, without my consent, without my knowledge. That explained the strange beeps I'd sometimes hear in the apartment, the random lens-shaped hole in one of the smoke detectors, the times I thought I was being paranoid. He wasn't just trying to hurt me emotionally. He had planned a full psychological breakdown for me in public view. This wasn't about a bad breakup anymore. This was a full-blown sociopath trying to rewrite my entire identity. But here's where fate handed me an unexpected gift. A podcast. Specifically, a true crime podcast run by a local investigative journalist named Kyla Monroe. She had reached out to me after the video and journal went viral. At first, I ignored her messages. I didn't want more attention. But after hearing that recording, I knew I needed someone who could help me tell the full story my way. I met Kyla at a quiet coffee shop under a fake name. I handed her a flash drive with everything: photos, the journal, Melissa's audio files, screenshots, court documents. Her eyes widened the more she scrolled. "Emily," she said, "this isn't just a personal revenge story. This is a psychological warfare. This man tried to manufacture your reality." We began recording the podcast under heavy privacy measures. I didn't use my real name, didn't show my face, but I told the entire story from the rooftop proposal to the forged documents to the secret recordings. Kyla interviewed Melissa, the detective. Even one of Adam's coworkers confessed that Adam had manipulated numbers on a company project, causing a major financial misstep the company quietly buried. When the podcast dropped, Manipulated, the Adam Hartley story, it exploded. Within 3 days, it was #2 on Spotify's trending list. Within a week, it was being translated into other languages. People from across the country, some even from Europe, messaged me to say they believed me, that they had survived someone like Adam, that they finally felt seen. And just when I thought it couldn't go any further, it did. A producer from a major streaming network reached out. They wanted to adapt the podcast into a and they wanted me to consult. At first, I hesitated. It felt surreal, invasive, too fast. But then I thought about the rooftop, the cold air, the music stopping, his laughter, the stunned faces, the sound of my heart breaking in front of all those people. And then I said yes. The final twist? Adam, sitting in jail, filed a lawsuit against me for defamation of character and emotional distress. The irony was almost laughable, but it didn't last long. Because during discovery, his own legal team uncovered evidence of additional financial fraud. This time, not just against me, but against one of his former employers. That case triggered a new investigation. His bail was revoked. More charges were added. And the best part? The judge allowed a victim impact statement during sentencing. I stood in that courtroom, looked him straight in the eye for the first time since that rooftop night, and said, "You taught me that love can be cruel, but I taught you that consequences are real." He didn't smirk this time. He didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. He just stared, like the facade had finally shattered and the real man was left behind, empty, exposed, defeated. Adam Hartley was sentenced to 4 years in prison with no possibility of early release. And me? I moved cities, changed careers, started working with nonprofits that support women leaving abusive or manipulative relationships. And every time someone reaches out to say, "Your story helped me," I remember the girl on her knees holding a ring, waiting for a man who never deserved her. That girl is gone. But I'm still here, and I'm louder than ever. Never let someone else's cruelty define your worth. Sometimes the most painful betrayals lead to the most powerful transformation. If someone tries to break you, use every shattered piece to rebuild something stronger. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you think twice about who you trust, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We share real, emotional stories that reveal the truth behind the smiles and silence. Your support helps us keep telling them.